The Seahawks and Rams delivered a barn burner in that NFC Championship game. 58 total points scored, 3 of the Seahawks, 4 touchdowns on pass plays inside the 20. I'm Andrew Weidinger. I was a member of coaching staffs in the NFL for 11 seasons. In this video, we're going to take a look at that Seahawks red zone game plan, specifically the passes they had schemed up as they got close to that goal line. So we're going to take a look at these plays chronologically. And the first one we're going to look at is a boot off of duo action. Quarterback going to sell the downhill run duo to the left. Got some videos on duo on the channel if you'd want to check them out. And then continue to boot in the same direction. And anytime you've got a naked or a boot, you've got somebody in the flat. You've got a naked over. On the front side, you usually have a bench route or deeper out-breaking route. And something trailing the play, in this case, a post route. Now, the hardest job on this play, on this duo version of boot, is the tight ends, because he's got to clean up this edge for the quarterback, and they've got a 5-man rush. So it's a little bit easier because he's got a smaller body coming off this edge. It's not Jared Verse. It's not number 0. Right here, he's got to make sure, though, that he can allow this quarterback to break contain and doesn't have a guy screaming into his face. And so he's got to go as he engages here, 1,000, 2,000 in his head, and then throw the guy. And he would love to get his hat outside like he has right here and throw him inside. But the tough part is that guy also gets paid to play football. He sees that it's a boot, works the outside, and this is a great job of physically tossing him to the ground, making sure that the quarterback is going to be able to get outside and get his eyes down the field and head to the flat. On the progression, this guy is 1, and the naked over is 2, and then you come back to this guy 3, and this guy 4 on that bench, and this would just be alert. I've seen that hit twice in my 11 years in the NFL, the teams that I was with. Neither time did a coach anticipate it. The quarterback just had a wild hair and let it rip. So anyways, right here, his number 1 guy, his flat runner right here, well, he's covered up pretty good because he got the 5-man rush cover 1. So this linebacker is man on the tight end. Well, Njigba here, great job, engages his man at the line of scrimmage. He's got the 1-yard rule. He can put his hands on that guy. Quick little run cell, gets to the inside, establishes great leverage, and starts running across the field. He's drifting up the field a little bit. You can see him working further down the field. You tend to not want your receivers to do that. But if they've won with speed and they have a step on the guy, at that point, it doesn't really matter. So he's got this guy beat with speed. He can drift all he wants, and then that's just ridiculous, right? The one-handed catch and getting his feet in bounds. Same drive, a few plays later, they end up with a holding call. And so now it's 2nd and 19. They're going to run a slow screen off of cross action. Walker starting left, going right, slow screen into the boundary. You'll see the orbit motion in Njigba. They're going to sell as if they're running the bubble screen here to the field. And Njigba on the bubble, guys out ahead of him. Darnold eyeing him down before he wheels back and throws it to Walker. Now let's start with these tackles. Tackles on screens, they aren't really part of the screen. Their job is to influence these defensive ends up the field, and they'd love to stay on the inside of that defensive end and say, hey, you can beat me to the outside. That's where you want to go and get the quarterback, influence them up so that they don't make any sort of inside move and end up knocking off one of your linemen who is part of the screen or your running back. Next great job is right here by this right guard. Right guard sells to that down lineman that this is a pass and that he's beaten him. You can see tackle gets engaged, wins, and says, ooh, I'm about to go get me a sack. Never mind, it is a screen. Great job by the guard. So the guard is going to then get out, and he is the kick-out block on the numbers. And the next guy who gets out is the center, and he's going to fit off that guard's block, and he's going to get vertical on the inside edge of the numbers. And the third guy who's part of the screen is the backside guard. And this backside guard also doing a good job trying to sell that it's pass, gets a little stuck on that guy, tries to swim over the top. And if one guy's the kick out and one guy's the fit, this backside guard, as he comes, he's going to do what they call rat kill. And if any of these defensive linemen had sniffed out the screen and they were trailing it and trying to get to Walker, he would try to pick them off so that they can get the play started. And if there is no rat to kill, no defensive line to sniff it out, then he'll fit off that block. The first fit block, he'll fit off of that and become a second fit block. But they do a good job of selling that this is actually a pass play. They get those defensive linemen screaming at the quarterback, even though they get this inside move right here. Walker able to slip in between those two. Now, the unsung hero of this play, Cooper Kupp, out here on the outside. and he gets a cloud corner. This is cover 2. They get a cloud corner over there. So cloud just basically in a cover 2. The corner going to stand at 5 yards and he's going to take a stand. He's going to be at 5 yards and take a stand. And Kupp knows that he has to outside release this guy. He has to draw this guy up and out. And watch how he affects this corner up and out and creates extra space for the screen. It's not a ton of extra space, but it is extra space. And if he didn't do that, if he just came straight vertical right here, well, this guy's not going to get influenced out at all. In fact, watch his eyes the entire down. They're on the quarterback. In zone coverages, you have vision to the quarterback. If Kupp had gone just straight here, he's got eyes on the quarterback. He's going to see that screen coming. He's going to put hands on Kupp. It's going to turn into a mess. And this first guy out is going to have to kick on that corner, and the next guy's going to have to fit on that linebacker. They essentially would lose a man. So Kupp buys them a man by doing a good job on that outside release. Great job again by these linemen getting downfield, trying to connect in space. Very hard for the big guys to do that. Awesome job by the Seahawks. So that screen sets up this 3rd and 9 from the 9, a much more manageable situation. Good job digging themselves out of the 2nd and 19. So they motion to this bunch, and they're going to get a version of quarters here that plays out kind of like a box coverage. So they've got a corner on one edge of the box. The safety, I know he's kind of further inside, but kind of the other edge of the box. The flat defender here and the hook defender right in here. And so this is a great design against this coverage, and we're going to see this show up again later in this game. But Njigba going to come over the top of this defender, wall him off, make sure he's stuck inside, and he's going to drag this safety in here as he hooks up. And Kupp is going to come to the flat, and he's going to drag this player down and outside, and that's going to isolate this tight end here on this corner, and the corner is going to get the tight end running right at him. He's going to say, hey, I've got good leverage on this play, except the plan is to threaten him outside, drop our weight, come back to the quarterback, he drills it in, and the Seahawks get the touchdown. Well, ends up not hitting. And why is that? I don't know if he's a little too tied up, too focused on getting this guy off his body right here. I don't know if the quarterback is sped up a little bit. One thing I do know right here is he goes to engage and throw this guy off. And it's a little hard to see, but he's got his hand up high. He's got it up here on the shoulder. And yes, this is cheating. This is offensive pass interference, but it's an offensive league. They're not going to call it. But just to be safe, when you cheat, instead of getting high on his body, you want to get low. You want to put that hand on his hip. You're far more likely to get away with OPI if you go low. You're also able to move a man's body a whole lot better when you're pushing his hip versus his shoulder. Now, Seahawks fans are going to be like, no, that's not OPI. This dude's grabbing onto him. Well, yes, it's definitely DPI. It's definitely OPI. This ref's looking at it, and he's like, you're both cheating. I'm not throwing a fucking flag. Just kick the field goal. I don't blame him. Palms up right here, palms up right here. Both of them wondering what the hell is going on. Yeah, you're both cheating. We're just going to move forward. Okay, so that play doesn't hit, and we're about to take a look at another one that doesn't hit also. And I know it's super boring to look at plays that don't hit, but trust me, they're setting stuff up as we go. So they motion Shaheed across to the 2x2, and they're going to get quarters here. Quarters for deep defenders. In this version of quarters here, when these guys go vertical, the nickel here and the dime are going to carry those routes up the field. And if those guys are carrying those routes vertical, well, if these guys run something that's in breaking, the corner's got to take it in man, right? Because there is no help. So these corners are in man, and these guys on the inside are going to carry these vertical routes. The help players are going to be these two safeties deep down the field, Mike matching to the linebacker. We're going to focus. Let's start right here with Shaheed at the top of the screen. So he's going to run this in cut, and the corner's got him in man. So as he's hitting that thing in, the corner's going to drive on him, and you can see how it affects this safety. He pats his feet, ready to also take away that in cut because he knows the corner's got bad leverage. He's going to need help. Okay, now let's go and take a look at Njigba up there. And Njigba hit one of these. I think it was against the Jaguars earlier in the season. Extremely good at running this route. He's pushing vertical. He's got this guy stuck on his outside. You'll see he's going to lean him to the outside. This guy's going to get stuck underneath him, and he's just going to slightly nod that thing back into the middle of the field. And once he leans on this guy and he's got that body position, this guy's got no chance. Now, again, they don't hit this. You'll see it sails a little bit high, carries him out of bounds. Let's take a look from behind. Why does this thing miss? Well, right here, number 0, the great edge players for the Rams, getting some push right here, and so Darnold's got to drift off his spot just a little bit, which makes him just a little bit late, and you can see kind of falling off the platform. Ball carries on him, sails a little bit high, not able to get it. This is right before they go into halftime, and I promise you, as they're in the locker room at halftime, they're saying, hey, that nod was there. That route right there, a nod route, it was there. We've got a chance. How do we get back to that? So the nod doesn't hit, and they come right back here. Next play, motion and Njigba back in the backfield. And they're going to get quarters again. It's going to play out kind of like that box coverage. And so they've got the quarters corner, the quarters safety, the flat defender, and the Mike here is going to relate to number 3. And defensively, you count it from outside in, 1, 2, 3. And so we've got a mismatch already, right? This heavy-footed Mike got to match the Offensive Player of the Year in Njigba. And so great design to beat that box coverage. So you'll see Shaheed gets the first assist, and he gets up on this corner's toes, and he takes him straight to this safety. He takes 2 for 1, gets both these guys out of the play. If neither of these guys is able to show up on Njigba on the outside, they've got a problem. And so he gets both those guys tied up. 1 assist for Shaheed. The next assist comes to Cooper Kupp. Crafty vet move right here. He's got a return route. He's going to be a check down underneath this thing in case Njigba's not open in behind him. Well, he feels this guy's starting to give a little bit of ground. The guy's not really like matching to him and into his body, and he knows this is where they want to go with this throw. So take a look at the last second. Kupp's going to adjust this thing up and physically go and grab that guy and say, there's no way you're falling off. You need to cover me. I'm the guy who's threatening your zone, not Njigba over there. You come cover me. You stay down here so we can throw it in behind. Big old assist for Cooper Kupp right there. That just leaves Njigba. Great job pushing this thing vertical, letting his other guys get the assist. Sets a great angle out there into the corner, and all they got to do is bloop it out to him. Touchdown, Seahawks. So at the end of the half there, they're able to get their play called to exploit that kind of box coverage. And then here, their first play in the red zone in the second half, they come back to the nod. And you'll see Bobo on the nod at the top of the screen. They're running this off of play action, waggle protection right here. This may be, Njigba might be the primary on this, don't know for sure. They end up coming to a cloud off of the corner blitz right here. Darnold gets off of him, gets to Bobo. Really well done nod, especially by a very tall player in Bobo right there. They drill it in. Touchdown. So let's take a look at the protection here on Waggle. And the line has got the 4 down, the Mike. We've got Sam, we've got Mike, we've got Will, and they've got the defensive end. And in this 3-by-1 set right here, these 3 guys are going to area out. So usually, say this guy wasn't here, he would have the end, and this tight end would have the Sam. Well, they got an extra guy now. So these 3 are going to be responsible for these 2 and anybody who might be blitzing off the edge if it's a safety or a corner on a blitz. The back has got number 48 on this play action. So like we said, this side, everybody working like that. Back has 48. Well, they get the corner blitz. And a great job. Receiver alerts Walker that it's coming. Walker says, hey, this guy is blitzing. I am no longer selling that run fake. We've got to protect the quarterback. I am going to go and I'm going to help build this wall with the offensive line out here, and I'm going to keep this guy as far away from the quarterback as possible. And you can see number 1 right here. As soon as he sees that he's been found out, he more or less quits on the rush. Great job by Walker. Productive rep. They've got a little bit of an issue here on the inside. Center, the guard leaves the center. Center not anticipating that. They get some pressure down the pipe. Darnold hangs in the pocket. Doesn't matter. 330-pound man trying to rip his face off, hangs in the pocket, rips that thing in there to Bobo. Take a look here at the top of this route. Great sell. 1, 2, 3 steps to the outside, gets the corner to open his hips, crosses his face. That's awesome. Last play we're going to take a look at on the video, a play they love all over the field, not just in the red zone. We're going to get smash out here. So they've got a spray, 5-yard in by Kupp. Spray meaning he's going to take an outside angle of attack before he comes in. They've got the smash, in cut coming on the backside. And out of this 3-by-1 set, on this in cut, you always want somebody underneath it so that you can create a high-low. And when they run it out of a 2-by-2, they'll have a guy run a stick route right there. Well, out of 3-by-1, how does Njigba get to that spot? And so right here, instead of just running a shallow cross and him sprinting, he'd get there probably too early in the down to time it up better. They're going to run a shake, and so he's going to attack inside, give it the outside move, buy a little extra time before he starts working across the field. That's going to help them set up this high-low on the backside. Now take a look. Darnold right here. He knows he's working smash, and he's working it low to high, 1 to 2. But he starts with his eyes opposite because he's trying to influence this guy back out. They want to keep that guy out of this window. They know they've got a problem here. This bench route or flag route is running directly to a corner with outside leverage. And there isn't a lot of field out here, right, in this low red zone or even the 10-yard line here. There's not a lot of field to threaten this guy deep. So it's going to be very hard for Shaheed to come open. So he knows, all right, I'm throwing this thing to Kupp if he's there. If not, I got to get to this backside high-low. Kupp happens to be there, drills it in. Good job. Let's take a look at his eyes, though. Darnold's eyes, and it's probably easier to see from behind. So right here, Darnold, he knows he's working that side. He's keeping his eyes down the midline, gets his eyes to the front side, knows that's where he's going, and you can see he brings him right here to Njigba first. And this guy, whether it's Njigba's route or Darnold's eyes, gets him to cheat inside, which is going to open that pocket for Kupp outside of him. So Darnold comes back, eyes inside, immediately shoots them back outside, affects that guy masterfully, drills it into Kupp. Kupp gets his shoulders down, gets in. Seahawks go on to win. Awesome football game.